All the power went out. Oh my God. Oh my God. What is happening? It's hailing.
Baseball-sized hail fell in parts of Connecticut during this weekend's stormy 4th of July, and it may have set a new state record. The series of storms, which left more than 100,000 people without power in Connecticut, struck communities from eastern New York to Rhode Island, according to Bryce Williams, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service. We had a complex of storms move through the southern half of southern New England on the 4th of July, Williams said. We had a few kind of supercell-looking storms, and behind them we had a strong line of storms which produced quite a bit of wind damage, in addition to some large hail. Williams said wind speeds were generally estimated to have hit anywhere between 50 to 65 miles per hour. This, along with the hail, caused widespread damage in several parts of Connecticut. There were no reports of injuries or deaths directly attributable to the storms as of Monday, according to the State Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection. Nor were there any instances of major flooding. Rick Green, a spokesperson with the agency, said, "Most of the damage came from heavy winds and downed trees," he said. There were reports of 3-inch and 1.25-inch hail in the areas of Bristol, Plainville, and New Britain, according to Williams, of NWS. While the official numbers are not yet verified, the largest hail Connecticut had recorded before Saturday was 2.75 inches, which first set the record during a 1969 storm, according to National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration data. We could not find any reports of any 3-inch hail since we've been keeping records, so there's potential that it could be one of the biggest hailstorms recorded in Connecticut, Williams said. The last time Connecticut saw hail that size was in 1995, when a storm met the previous record of 2.75 inches. Hailstorms in the state have become more frequent and widespread over the past 30 years, according to the NOAA data. In recent years, individual hailstorms, like the one seen this weekend, have hit multiple towns across the state. Gary Lesser, the chief meteorologist at Western Connecticut State University, said what was exceptional about this weekend's storms was the size of the affected area. 2 wide bands moving diagonally across the state from northwest to southeast. A lot of times, you'll get it in Litchfield County, maybe Litchfield and Hartford counties, or Fairfield and New Haven. Then they kind of dissipate as they go east, Lesor said. But we had so much heat, we had so much humidity that it maintained itself into the evening. So, the front came through. It had enough energy at the surface, meaning heat, and again the humidity, that we had the destructive storms. Williams said the heat wave that hit the region late last week helped set the stage for the storms. We just had an atmosphere that was very conducive to thunderstorms, and that continued all the way through the state, Williams said. So it just didn't run out of juice. At its peak from Saturday night into Sunday, the storm produced about 94,000 outages across Eversource's service territory in Connecticut, according to spokesman Max Rice. Rice said the utility restored power to about 120,000 customers over the weekend and early Monday. The number of restorations is higher than the peak, because not all outages were reported at the same time. As of Monday afternoon, the utility reported that 23,153 customers remained without power, or about 1.76% of its customers. The company announced over the weekend that it brought in crews from Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Canada to help with restoration efforts. Rice said 99% of affected customers are expected to have power back by Tuesday night. A United Illuminating spokesperson said that more than 10,000 customers were without power during the peak of the storm, but nearly all had gotten service resumed by late Monday. The outage numbers were similar to another series of unusually powerful storms that swept through the state on May 15, 2018, producing several small tornadoes and causing extensive damage at Sleeping Giant State Park in Hamden. That storm produced more than 120,000 outages at its peak, according to the Hartford Courant, and it took some customers more than a week to get their power back on. Governor Ned Lamont held a remote teleconference with municipal leaders and emergency management directors on Monday to monitor their preparations ahead of several days of expected rainfall. There's a concern that this rain we're seeing today right now could turn into a flooding situation. Green of DESPP said, "That's a big concern today." Governor Ned Lamont held a remote teleconference with municipal leaders and emergency management directors on Monday to monitor their preparations ahead of several days of expected rainfall. There's a concern that this rain we're seeing today right now could turn into a flooding situation. Green of DESPP said, "That's a big concern today." In Torrington and Harwinton, where local states of emergencies were declared, crews worked through the night Saturday into Sunday to make roads passable and keep residents safe. Officials are urging everyone to obey closed road signs and stay away from any downed power lines. Do not drive around barricades, as roads may be unsafe due to fallen trees, damaged utility poles, or flooding, the Torrington Fire Department urged. Several areas of the state are under a flood watch Monday, as repeated rounds of heavy rain are expected to bring in 3 to 5 inches of rain. If showers and thunderstorms concentrate over local areas and deliver repeated rounds of heavy rainfall, towns could see localized amounts in some narrow bands well over 6 inches, the CT Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management said. NOAA's Weather Prediction Center has upgraded southern Connecticut into a moderate risk category, level 3 out of 4, officials said. Not everyone will see flooding, but any locations that get repeated downpours could experience rapid flooding, meteorologist Ryan Hanrahan said on his social media page. The exact placement of the heaviest rain is still uncertain. Lamont urged anyone looking for real-time updates on state road closures to visit ctroads.org and to sign up for emergency alerts at portal.ct.gov/CTAlert. Keep monitoring weather alerts over the coming days, as additional rainfall could bring a risk of flash flooding, Lamont said. Never drive through a flooded road. In Bristol, contracted crews spent Sunday clearing debris and removing fallen tree trunks after Saturday night's storm. The Bristol mayor's office said nearly 4,000 Eversource customers lost power. By the end of Sunday, power had been restored to about 1,500 customers. One home on Roundtree Hill Road was struck by a tree, while a family inside was celebrating the 4th of July. The tree totaled a car outside but caused no additional major damage to the home after the family took shelter in the basement. Matthew Evanonsky said he watched the frightening moment unfold. "I looked out the window and saw the hail falling, and then all of a sudden, I saw the tree fall right on the house." Jessica Evanonsky described the storm as unlike anything the family had experienced. The wind blowing and the hail was terrifying, something you've never seen before. Elsewhere in Bristol, a tree was completely uprooted and fell onto a home. On Shrub Road, downed power lines blocked several driveways and knocked out electricity. Jennifer Charette said she learned about the damage from a neighbor. "We got a phone call from our neighbor saying they were trapped in the house, that a tree had fallen, and that it was not good here at home." Despite the damage, neighbors worked together to cut up tree trunks blocking the area. "We're very fortunate in the neighbor category here, and really have some fantastic neighbors around this area," Charette. East Haddam also experienced significant storm damage, with fallen trees bringing down power lines and causing outages. 12-year-old Kale Strong said her family did not realize how severe the storm had been. "It's kind of crazy to think that it was just that we mostly heard rain. We didn't even hear wind or nothing, she said. A relentless pattern of severe summer weather, characterized by slow-moving atmospheric boundaries and extreme tropical moisture, has triggered widespread flash flooding, extensive infrastructure damage, and localized emergencies across Middle and East Tennessee. Local authorities and emergency personnel have been working around the clock to mitigate the hazards, rescue stranded residents, and restore critical utilities to thousands of affected households. The National Weather Service, NWS, has officially extended a moderate flood watch for Williamson County, Davidson County, and the broader Middle Tennessee region, keeping emergency protocols active from Thursday afternoon through Sunday evening. The city of Brentwood has emerged as one of the hardest-hit suburban zones in Middle Tennessee. A series of stationary thunderstorms dropped between 1 to 2 inches of rain within a narrow window, forcing local waterways well beyond their historical capacities. The most visible manifestation of the flash flood occurred along Concord Road, where the Little Harpeth River rapidly breached its banks. The rising torrents completely inundated the lower-lying zones of the city, turning commuter avenues into fast-moving streams. The parking lot of the Brentwood YMCA became an immediate disaster point. Floodwaters rose so quickly that multiple vehicles belonging to members and staff were partially submerged. According to historical statements from the Brentwood Fire Chief, this particular location has always been an infamous bellwether for structural flooding, serving as one of the very first municipal zones to take on water during extreme rain events. Public works crews were dispatched to clear fallen trees and manage a major water main break along Charity Drive. Local authorities have activated specialized online portals, urging citizens to report pinpointed property damage to help municipal engineers track structural vulnerabilities. The meteorological instability has expanded far beyond Williamson County, impacting the entire Tennessee Valley and cutting a path of disruption through major urban centers like Chattanooga, Knoxville, and Oak Ridge. In Chattanooga, the local fire department responded to an influx of emergency calls. High-velocity winds and saturated soil dynamics caused massive trees to collapse directly onto residential structures along Awhila Drive, Colonial Drive, and 10th Avenue. On Georgia Avenue, a large tree crushed an occupied vehicle, though miraculous emergency extractions prevented injuries. Meanwhile, a commercial awning collapsed on Rossville Boulevard due to water weight accumulations. The energy grid suffered massive blows. Chattanooga's primary utility provider, EPB, reported that thousands of customers lost electricity simultaneously as fallen branches snapped overhead wires. Similar blackouts hit North Georgia EMC networks just across the state line. Farther north, the city of Oak Ridge saw significant power grid failures affecting hundreds of consumers around West Tennessee Avenue and Nesper Road. The NWS issued an immediate, high-priority flash flood warning for central Morgan County after emergency management officials reported severe water accumulation in the town of Lansing. Localized creeks, streams, urban highway underpasses, and drainage systems failed to handle the runoff velocity, stranding motorists and necessitating prompt route diversions. Weather forecasters are highlighting an atypical meteorological phenomenon driving this summer's volatile system. Over the past week, Middle Tennessee experienced uncommon, backwards-moving thunderstorms. Rather than tracking from west to east, as is standard across the North American continent, these storms developed an easterly and southeasterly trajectory toward the northwest. This inversion was driven by a massive, high-pressure atmospheric heat dome sitting directly over the central United States. The extreme heat indices, which peaked between 106 degrees Fahrenheit and 111 degrees Fahrenheit earlier in the cycle, created deep thermodynamic instability. Small convective boundaries triggered pop-up thunderstorms. The upper-level steering currents pushed them slowly across already saturated landscapes, dumping intense amounts of precipitation over concentrated areas rather than dispersing the moisture evenly. As floodwaters repeatedly seep into neighborhoods, a growing contingent of Tennessee residents is pointing to human factors, specifically rapid suburban overdevelopment and aging utility design, as the core catalysts exacerbating the natural disaster. Community advocacy groups, such as Preserve Brentwood, have previously noted that extreme stormwater surges routinely overpower local wastewater infrastructure, leading to millions of gallons of raw sewage backing up into residential properties. In Chattanooga and outlying Nashville metro suburbs, property owners have expressed severe frustration over what they describe as a lack of aggressive stormwater planning. High-density housing developments have replaced vast acreage of natural soil and absorbent vegetation with asphalt and concrete, creating a massive increase in unabsorbable surface runoff. In response to recurring damage across Connecticut County, Gatlinburg, and Knoxville, state leaders, including Senator Richard Briggs, have formed a unified coalition to orchestrate inter-county grant proposals. The objective is to secure long-term federal funding through the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program to elevate vulnerable homes or facilitate voluntary property buyouts in permanent high-risk zones. The Tennessee Emergency Management Agency, TEMA, alongside regional first responders, have issued a strict safety directive to the public. Motorists are strongly urged to never attempt to navigate past road closure barricades or drive through standing water pooling on highways. It takes less than 6 inches of fast-moving water to knock an adult off their feet, and just 12 inches of water can easily float or sweep away a compact passenger car. The first alert. Weather Team has designated Friday as a high-alert first alert weather day. Slow-moving individual storm cells are projected to merge into larger convective clusters, capable of producing an additional 2 to 4 inches of rain over short durations. Residents living within low-lying areas, near known floodplains, or adjacent to rising streams, are advised to maintain multiple operational methods for receiving emergency weather alerts, such as NOAA weather radios or digital smartphone applications, and should be fully prepared to evacuate to higher ground at a moment's notice.